is a new movie by Scott Cooper. If you don't know who Scott Cooper is, check out his filmography. You'll recognize a couple of the movies that he's done. I think he's actually a super underrated director and overlooked director. He's made movies like Black Mass, which I think is fantastic. I don't really understand the hate for Black Mass. Out of the Furnace is a solid movie. Crazy Heart is really good. Hostiles is solid. The dude makes solid movies, and here he enters the realm of the horror genre. And this movie stars Kerry Russell, Jesse Plemons, and it takes place in an isolated Oregon town in which a middle school teacher and her sheriff brother become embroiled with her enigmatic student, whose dark secrets lead to terrifying encounters with a legendary ancestral creature who came before them. You know in baseball how they say that if you play for a lot of different teams, then you're a journeyman? I feel like Scott Cooper is that in different genres. He's tackled the Western genre, modern, small town, down on your luck drama, you can say, the crime and gangster genre, now touches upon the horror genre with Antlers. And the actual creature itself, I loved. I loved the design. I loved how Scott Cooper actually had the smart idea to hide most of the creature for most of the movie. And what I actually loved is that the creature isn't the first creature you see. They keep both of them in the shadows for a little bit, and they show just enough of it to keep you wondering what the hell the creature is, and they hide it enough and they show it enough to make you terrified of what is to come. I'll say Scott Cooper is a master at hiring little demon kids to be in his movie, because the kid in this movie creeped the fuck out of me. Holy shit. If I was a teacher like Kerry Russell is in this movie, I would go nowhere near that kid. I wouldn't even be trying to bring him into my home and, taking him under my wing like she does in this movie. Well, bringing him into her home. I should probably rephrase that, because she's what, like 40 something? The kid's 12? Yeah, no, it's not like that. What I mean is that she feels like she has to care for the kid who has my birthday, which made me hate this kid even more. Terrified of this child harboring a dark secret. But he gave a really good performance. Kerry Russell gives a good performance. Jesse Plemons gives a good performance. If Scott Cooper does anything else in terms of the actual horror and staging the horror, he creates a lot of great atmosphere. There were a couple of times where he got me with the jump scares. Like the speakers for a really dinky theater in my downtown Boston theater, I was surprised that the speakers were actually that loud. There were moments where I was anticipating the creature to pop up, and it did, but it wasn't at the moment I anticipated it to pop up. Or there was a scene towards the end that involved this other little child, and I thought, oh, well, the creature's gonna get him. No, it popped up, and it popped up behind somewhere else, and that totally got me. So there was an element of surprise with the actual jump scares with this movie. Usually when I try to pinpoint them, I'm always like a split second off, and that's where the jump scares get me. And there were a couple times where that happened, but there were legitimately times where I said, I don't know if this thing's gonna pop up or it's gonna pop up over there, and it didn't pop up over there, it popped up over here behind somebody else, and it got me. He staged the scares to a considerable effective degree. And as I said, the atmosphere sets the entire tone for the movie. This is a very unsettling, disturbing, and just, tense atmosphere. I didn't feel comfortable at all watching it, and especially with some of the imagery that is in this movie. This little demon child, I'm gonna call him the demon child, like draws creepy ass pictures of creatures devouring each other, and I'm like, yeah, I'll see myself out. Disturbing ass shit that people are going into a house that's like dimly lit. I'm like, I feel like Scott Cooper, he knows to a degree what he's doing here, and while the movie is competently directed and competently made, I couldn't even tell if the creature was practical effects like prosthetics or if it was CGI. It was that good. There are a few things that halt this from being a really great horror movie and one of Scott Cooper's best movies. To be fair, this is his weakest film, and that is mostly because I think that some of the characters got lost on me. There's an attempt to give Kerry Russell a backstory with her father, and it's brought up a couple times, but it was never made clear as to what the relationship between her and her father was, or what the relationship between her and her brother, who's played by Jesse Plemons, was. So there was a bit of confusion there as well as the actual story itself not really sticking into place. I felt as if it was just typical folklore or myth or urban legend that would happen in like the backwoods of Oregon or in a forest that's isolated somewhere. So it did have those trappings for me, but I think my biggest problem here is that while I do think it is considerably competently directed by Scott Cooper, I just don't think he went the extra mile, and I think he feels like he went the extra mile. I kind of chalk it up to, I'm sorry to say this, but Denis Villeneuve with Dune, or Sam Mendes with the 2 Bond films that he made. I think the action scenes in Skyfall are acceptable. When it gets to Spectre, you could tell that there was a little bit of oomph missing from the action scenes, as if Sam Mendes wasn't sure just how far he could go, because you can tell action movies aren't his expertise. He's not well versed in directing action. I feel as if he was a bit restrained, and because of that, and I mean more of it could be because of Daniel Craig's leg injury, but for me, because he felt more restrained, those action sequences in Spectre were lacking oomph. The same thing happened for me in Dune with Denis Villeneuve's direction of the action. It's how I feel with some of Scott Cooper's direction in this movie. That's why I'm saying it's competently directed, but it's not directed to its full potential. I feel as if he was holding back a little bit, and he felt a little bit restrained because this is a new genre for him. This is his first horror movie. I mean, like I said, he's like the journeyman of the film genres, and so I feel like he didn't know if he could quite get what he wanted with the scares in this movie and where the story was actually going to go and how scary he could actually get. He had a hand in the screenplay, so for many, because of how the story is written and how the screenplay is written, this is going to feel like a slow burn, and usually with Scott Cooper movies, you get a slow burn. Like, look at Hostels. I think Hostels could have been a way better movie if you cut out that scene that takes place in like a campsite in the middle of the forest where Ben Foster's talking to Christian Bale for like 20 minutes. If that scene is not 20 minutes, it certainly feels like it. And that could have been significantly trimmed in that movie. And there are scenes in Antlers, despite its relatively short runtime, it's only an hour and 39 minutes with credits, that do feel like they are dragging on a little bit. It feels as if the movie knows where it wants to go, but the journey it takes to get there is a little bit bumpy. I guess that's the best way to describe it. I was trying to come up with the exact phrase. I had it in my head when I was walking home from the theater and be like, yeah, I gotta say that, but I completely lost that thought in my head now. And I mean, that's probably the closest I can get. There were elements of the film that disappointed me in that regard. However, it is still a watchable movie, and I watch it again. I don't think it would be like a Halloween or October staple every year, you know. I'd watch it here and there, you know. It's a solid Scott Cooper film, even if it is his weakest. I'm happy I saw it. I think that there were elements that just needed to be locked into place more, and I think if he ever makes another horror movie, I hope he goes the extra mile and knows that with the atmosphere he set up, he can set up really good tension with his directing. He just didn't quite get there fully. He didn't reach his full potential with this movie. I'm gonna say I still enjoyed Antlers, even if I only had a half bucket of popcorn. So guys, what did you think of Antlers? Drop me some feedback in the comment section below. I'll leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I'll see you at the movies somewhere.